Hey everyone, welcome to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. I'm Amanda, and tonight we are going to be talking with Reverend Jon Eldritch. He is an ordained minister of Satan, congregation leader of the Satanic Temple Atlanta, and co-director of the Satanic Temple Sober Fraction campaign. And of course, you guys all know David, so when that voice pops in, you'll know who's talking behind the scenes there.
DC!
Welcome, Jon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on the show and get to talk a bit, answer any questions.
Great. So, everyone, tonight, just to be clear, and I've written this and everything, tonight is like an informational session. So this is, most people will never knowingly have an opportunity to sit down with someone who practices this. So this is an opportunity for you to ask all the questions you've ever wanted to ask, things you've heard, things you imagined, so on and so forth. This is just one big informational session. So if you want to call in to ask your questions, you can call us at 678-383-4378. I'm going to repeat that again. 678-383-4378. So you're welcome to call in at any time. You can still continue to type your questions into the chat box as well. Jon, just give us a quick who you are, how you got into this, just the overall, and then we'll get into the other thing.
Okay. So Reverend Jon Eldritch. I started getting involved with TST about, I want to say 2018. Started hearing about some of the things I did. Ironically, I found out about it while I was getting a tattoo, and someone had a membership plaque on their wall. I was like, "What is this?" Right? I've always heard about it, saw some of the news articles over the years, and just kind of chuckled at it, but never thought much of it. And someone started telling me about it and read me the 7 tenets and told me about activities they do locally and internationally. I was like, "This sounds incredible! Like this 100% aligns with what I feel like I'm down for." And went to my first meeting and just met the most welcoming community I've ever been a part of. And over a few years now, I'm the congregation leader of the place. This is something that just happens with me, I guess.
Sometimes things are just meant to be.
Yeah. It's just because, being leadership also takes a lot of work. So every now and then people was like, "All right, I've done my few years. I'm stepping down, passing the torch." So I was happy to pick that up and lead the community as best as I can.
So, we're going to go ahead and get I don't want to say stupid questions because there is no stupid question except for the one I just answered before you ask it. But I guess the basic,
the common question.
Right. So for the record, do you guys eat babies?
No.
Do you sacrifice?
Do we not eat babies? We don't eat goats. We do not worship a literal Satan or the devil.
Okay.
I don't understand.
So the Satanic Temple is actually a non-theistic religious organization.
Okay.
We don't have the belief in a deity or the supernatural. Satan for us is a symbolic symbol of self-empowerment, rebellion against arbitrary authority, and standing against tyranny in the face of insurmountable odds.
Okay. So, and you also said there is a difference between the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan.
Yes. Church of Satan actually started in 1966 with Anton LaVey, around 1966. And while it was one of the first, self-identifying satanic religious organizations, they're very different than what we started with TST in 2013. There's some similarities and some overlap. Both are non-theistic religious organizations. Both look at Satan as a symbol, not literally speaking. But there's some key differences. One, TST is an official religious organization recognized by the U.S. government now. Generally speaking, and this is just generally speaking, my point of view is TST is more left-leaning and progressive. Church of Satan is more right-leaning, just with their kind of approach to things. Church of Satan is more of kind of like a might is right, vengeful kind of ideals, while TST is more about compassion, empathy, and community, while Church of Satan is more individualistic than TST is. Well, TST Satanism as a practice very much on the individual. We very much believe with TST we can celebrate each other's individuality as a community.
All right, guys, you heard it here. So no animal sacrifices, no human sacrifices, no eating babies. We were talking about a couple of these.
I should also clarify, I should have said this being, I'm not a spokesperson for the Satanic Temple.
No.
I can just speak on my own practices, speak on the stuff we've done locally in the community, and talk about the sober faction practices. I'm not an official spokesperson of the Satanic Temple by any means. So most of these are just my own introspections and opinions.
Right. And remember, everyone, just like no matter what religion it is, everyone practices slightly different. It is not one person can speak for everybody who falls under this particular umbrella. Just not possible. It's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been to church, if you go from one Baptist church to another, they are very different.
Very true.
So, same thing here. All right. So
Should we start with these?
let's go.
Fire
Already
'em off.
coming in.
Fire them off.
What is the biggest non-belief that you guys have?
Biggest non-belief?
I'm just reading.
Biggest
Nicole.
non-belief is that we don't believe in a literal Satan. We don't believe in the Bible. With TST, it's more of the romantic era literature ideals of Satan. Think Paradise Lost, John Milton, a lot of inspiration from French Revolution era, romantic era literature, not so much as the Bible's literal interpretation of things. It's very much, I think that's the number one thing is, do you guys worship the devil? No. It's more of a symbol of rebellion against tyranny and celebration of self and looking at yourself as your own salvation and things like that.
Okay.
Next question. What is the biggest misconception about your group?
Besides not eating babies, besides
You really hear that a lot.
It's joked about a lot because we hear it all the time. Besides, sacrificing of animals, because that's against our first fundamental tenet, which is one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. So definitely do not. There's no animal sacrifices. Most congregations are generally doing good works for local animal charities, and TST Atlanta is actually doing one right now for a Lifeline Animal Project to support dogs in need. Collecting leashes for local charity.
I love Lifeline. They do awesome work.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other big things. Those are like the main ones. A lot of times, like why Satan, or the other one is TST is normally sometimes called just a political activist group because they see the headlines and not a religious organization. A lot of times people assume it's just a joke. And while political activism is part of our religious practice, I would argue 10% of what TST does is what you see on the headlines. The other 90% is just community. And it's like going to church without all the other stuff we don't need, right? Working together, having like-minded individuals, doing good works, taking care of one another.
That was the other question. It said, do you consider yourself more a political group or a religious group?
Very much a religious group. Just sometimes the practice of standing up for what you believe in is part of our religious practices. Tenet 2 is the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
Let's take a quick break, and then will you go over those tenets with us?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, so you're listening to What Up Witches with Amanda and John from the Satanic Temple. We will be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. We're here tonight with John from the Satanic Temple. So the 7 tenets. I remember because, like you said, I saw it in the paper and like fighting for abortion rights and religious rights and schools and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, well, what's the big deal? And so I look it up and I read the tenets. I'm like, well, this is just basically be a good fucking human being. So what's the problem? And I don't want to say I never had the courage to attend. I was like, okay, what I do is show up, I'm normally like called before I like, hey, is it okay if I just come in? I'm not trying to join. I just want to ask questions, whatever, but I never got around to it. So for people who haven't read those tenets, can you tell them what those are and then break them down for them? Because like you said, we were talking, off air before that sometimes they're a little misconstrued as to what the meaning is.
So let's see if I can do it all off the top of my head because I'm kind of because I have them right here just in case. But tenet 1 is one should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. One thing I always like to point out with tenet 1 is all creatures also include yourself, because we promote a lot of self-care, self-love, self-promotion. A lot of people like to say, hail thyself, but I'll point out you'll be your own worst critic 10 minutes later, right? So
Facts.
Yeah.
like all people want to say great things about themselves, in 10 minutes you're tearing yourself down. So that's one of the big things we talk about, especially in the Sober Faction campaign. Tenet 2 is the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. That's one you normally see with headlines about, right?
Yeah.
Because we believe just because something's a law doesn't mean it's necessarily just and it deserves to be challenged. Don't just take something for its value. Stand up for what you believe in, even if it may be taboo to do so.
Can we ask a question on that tenet?
Yeah.
What law do you think you guys stand up against the most? If you want to elaborate, you don't have to.
The biggest one you hear about is standing up for abortion rights.
Facts.
Due to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act here. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act is famously was what Hobby Lobby used, so they wouldn't have to provide contraceptives because it was against their religious beliefs.
Correct.
And many other organizations have followed suit. And with the Satanic Temple, we've stated that the right to abortion is a part of our religious practices. Due to our third tenet, so that segues nicely, tenet 3 is one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. So we believe, it's your own bodily autonomy, and as a religious practice for us. I would say the most misunderstood tenet would be tenet 4, though.
Okay.
Is the freedom of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. One should strive to, my apologies. Freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. And I believe the second part of that tenet is more important. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. And a lot of people take the first sentence and take that freedom to offend
Facts.
and thinks it just gives them a license to be a dickhead and just be an asshole. And it's very much not the intent. A lot of it is the intent of being able to free to do things that others may consider blasphemous. The freedom to be yourself, regardless of another religion tells you that's evil. And the one thing I always want to point out is none of these tenets exist in a vacuum. Right? You can't be practicing tenet 4 without also remembering tenet 1 to strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason.
Did you ever think, because of tenet 4, and I personally knew about tenet 4 because that's the one you guys are mostly misconstrued. You said, did you ever think about rewriting that? And
I didn't write these.
Hey, I'm just saying you can make suggestions because it's so.
But I think it's important because
It is.
I think it's very important the way it's worded. It just
If
because
you
someone
flopped it,
misunderstands
though-
something doesn't mean I need to change it.
If you flopped it though, it means the same thing, but it's not in the front. It's not in the front. People get the misconception when things are in the front. That's what most of it's about. Like you
Well,
read
the first thing
ingredients.
is the freedoms of others should be respected.
Good point.
So the first line is the freedoms of others should be respected, and it's including the freedom to offend.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay, I see you.
So, and a lot of that, a lot of people get misconceptions of blasphemy.
Facts.
Like what is, you're just doing this to be hurtful to others, or you're just doing this to make a lot of noise and upset people, or, you're doing this ritual just to, be offensive. And I think a good metaphor or comparison when we talk about blasphemy is the act of a pride parade, for example. Many people look at a pride parade
And are offended.
at a pride parade as being overly loud and gratuitous and just being offensive. And the thing with a pride parade is it's not for the people who are offended. It's for their celebration of selves, and it makes them feel liberated and good. And that is very similar to what blasphemy means, at least for me. Taking an act of blasphemy, saying a Hail Satan, for example, makes me feel liberated and good, and not have to feel entrenched with societal taboos and dogma that has been pushed on me for a lot of my life. To feel liberated from my past, and very much so for a lot of people who suffered from religious trauma, to be able to stand up and go, no, Hail Satan, right? Hail me, hail myself, even if someone else finds that offensive.
Thanks. Tenet 5.
Belief should this is probably a lot of people's favorite tenet is belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs.
It's so factual.
Can that just be the theme of 2020, 2021, 2022?
Don't argue science.
And funny enough, a lot of the past year, there's been a lot of messages to our Facebook. We get a lot of crazy messages, but there was
Imagine that.
Oh yeah, people. Oh
You
no.
want to see my chat box right now?
Another question we get a lot is like the Illuminati or selling your soul or how do I become rich through it?
So I'll just read it, okay?
Yeah.
Do I have to sell my soul to become involved with it?
No.
I'm just saying, I'm not going to read those ones because I know the answer.
No.
I don't want you to say something silly.
It's actually free. Membership's free for the Satanic Temple. That's another difference between TSC and Church of Satan.
If you want to talk about selling your soul, you can talk to the hoodoo person over here.
Yeah.
A whole other time.
Yeah.
We'll buy that shit.
But ironically, we with just those tenets in mind, a lot of people have messaged our page looking for religious exemption from vaccinations and religious exemption from this. So we're like, well, it's my bodily autonomy, is what they would say, right? Tenet 3, and we're like, well, actually, if you're acting this way and standing against it, you're encroaching on the freedoms of others, right?
And science, doesn't it go to 6
Yeah,
too?
I was like,
Right.
I was like, this.
You're violating like 3 of them.
Yeah, I was like, this scientific organization, going down the whole list, all purport that this is the best course of action.
Facts.
So please stop.
Please stop. Does that ever work?
No.
Because it doesn't work for me.
I want to know. I will never know the answer to this, but I want to know what the religion are these people who are wanting to do this way. Like, I'm betting these are people who would ordinarily never contact you guys.
I also believe there's a lot of people who think they identify with Satanism, but don't really know the full details of it. I don't really fully understand what's going on.
Facts.
Right? For example, someone who grew up loving Motley Crue, for example, may not know what the actual practices are of TST, but loves saying Hail Satan in celebration of self, but may not know the tenets. Right.
Facts.
So I think that's another part of it.
Okay, I think we were.
So before we go to the next one, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Five's a big one.
Okay, so Catholicism, we got 10 commandments.
Yeah.
We all know we don't follow all those fucking commandments. Okay, is the same with the tenets?
Tenets are striving. Like, I think a lot of
I know you want everybody to follow, but can you?
They're guidelines to life. Right?
Okay, facts.
And like, for example, what tenet wants is one should strive to act with compassion.
I like your tenets better because they don't say "thou shall not."
Yeah.
No, let's do our best to do
Yeah,
this.
it's,
we're
belief
people.
should conform to one's best scientific understanding. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy. And strive is a very key word.
Basically, every day, wake up and try to be a better person.
That's 100% the most satanic thing you can do.
Yeah.
Try to be a better person.
Try.
Better than you were yesterday.
The most satanic things you can do is read books and try to be a better person. The pursuit of knowledge, because the whole Apple iconography, the gift of knowledge, the tree of fruit, that's such a strong image for us.
Thanks.
Reading books, even though you may not even read the books you disagree with, so you can understand it, right? Like, I'm not personally a follower of Church of Satan, but I've read the Satanic Bible for Anton LaVey, looking at it as a historical event that planted some seeds that grew to TST, and to understand what is the difference.
Facts. 10 to 6.
Tenet 6, which segues to other things. and I truly believe that these are written in this order for every purpose.
Okay.
Like, Tenet 1 is the foundation of striving to act with compassion and empathy. You remove Tenet 1, the other ones fall apart.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
So 6 is people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify any harm that might have been caused.
That is not the American way.
Is recognizing we're all
I'm
fallible.
telling you right now. That's where you're going to lose members, right there.
It's recognizing
That's the
people
one
make
right there.
mistakes.
No,
Yeah.
no. That's the hardest one you said so
That's
far.
the biggest blasphemy of the night is people make mistakes.
Right.
People
And,
make
and they should
mistakes,
be
and we want
responsible
you,
for those mistakes.
Yeah,
and we want
responsible.
you to try to recognize that these mistakes and just don't hate them.
Take responsibility for those mistakes and try to correct those
Yeah,
mistakes.
not gonna happen.
No.
Yeah, try to
Not gonna
rectify any harm that might have been.
Not in the Amazon world, brother. That was going to be hard to push on
and
people.
like, there's a lot of people have grown up with questionable backgrounds or things like that.
Yeah.
Especially my experience with sober faction and my whole life of recovery. I always hate the statement that people can't change, because I know that to be false.
Definitely false.
And I've seen people's lives turn around just by recognizing having a community they can get along with and learning the tenets and trying to practice them as a way of life.
I like the way you say them though. Trying to practice.
Yeah.
So like if I come and I try, I'm part of it. I'm trying. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Well,
I've
not
learned
even
slower than
that.
you.
It takes away that whole, well,
Pressure.
you made a mistake, so you're not a good whatever.
Yeah.
Facts.
You know, you're not a good Christian. You're not a good
I'm so tired
this.
of
You're
hearing
not a
this
good
shit.
that. This takes that away. Where are you trying? Okay, you fell down. Let's help you back up as a community. Put you back in there. Try again.
And it goes very well into picking apart words, taking things extremely literally. The kind of finishing touch to the tenets is every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of wisdom, compassion, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word.
That's your disclaimer.
Yeah, it's just like,
Perfect.
yeah, this is just to inspire to do right things. It should be the spirit of justice and compassion and wisdom.
You have a good question in here. What is the religious, and religious in quotations, what is the religious component of TST? Are there spiritual, ritual practices? Also, how does one get involved?
Yes, so there are ritual practices very much a part for a lot of our members. When we say rituals, and when I first joined and got involved in TST, I was very much identified as strictly atheist, right? Very, very atheist. And I would hear about ritual practices. I didn't really know much about a lot of other pagan religions, and I just heard rituals. Like, I don't know what that really is. You know, what that really, like, what does that really mean? I kind of was like, I don't know about this stuff. and I read about it. I listened to shows about it. And then one time I participated in a group ritual for a destruction ritual, and it was extremely moving. And we believe, at least I believe, that ritual doesn't need to require the beliefs in theism or any other belief. Just it is I almost kind of say it's like mindfulness plus meditation plus art, right?
Yes.
And you're taking actions that really trigger things in your mind and your body that make you just feel better about something. And there's endless articles on the science behind ritual and what it does and why it's helpful as opposed to just not doing ritual.
And I mean, like they've done things about making a ritual of like your routine, like, you know, the way you do your hair, put on your makeup, or taking a bath or whatever, and just kind of making it, and how calming that is on
Exactly.
the mind, body, and soul. So yeah.
And humans are just ritualistic people. Like we are.
Facts.
We're very ritualistic. Look at weddings. Look at birthdays. Look at funerals. It's proven that funerals help people grieve, right? And that's a ritual. It's been studied that ritual practices help people with anxiety and depression, to help alleviate with meditation and things of that nature. And a lot of people like, well, how do you are a religion and non-theistic? One of the most popular ones that I can think of that people don't really think of is Buddhism. Buddhism is also a religion that does not have a belief in a deity.
Facts.
So that is I can go on all sorts of tangents.
By all means. So clearly, most of the people who are completely opposed to this have probably never read those tenets.
Oh, probably not.
Like I said, that was my driving force to go and read, and I'm like, and ask me, well, why does everyone hate you guys? Or, it's just this huge thing. Now, I always say the belief in Satan himself is a Christian practice, because
yes,
it is, that is a Christian practice. You guys are using just that symbol. And you may not be able to answer this. By all means, out of my territory. Why was that the symbolism?
So there's a lot to it. There's that's a big question. I'm gonna try. There's so many.
I'm about to say, because she's basically asking you about your logo.
Yeah, like why Satan?
And I want to know, what's the bird coming out of
this is TSC Atlanta's logo, which is the symbol of the phoenix from Atlanta.
Okay.
But I mean, like for me,
knowing that's gonna
why Satan?
Ruffle feathers.
Yeah, like why for me? Why Satan? And not just being an atheist.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That's kind of been asked before, and there's deep meaning behind that, and it really gives me a strong sense of empowerment. Being an atheist is boring. Right? Being an like I don't. There's no history. There's no iconography. There's no symbolism. There's no belief. There's no community. Right? I know that there's
It's probably the biggest group too.
organizations.
That's the baddest part about it.
and yeah, but it's really like, and to have, when I first was like, oh, that's just cool, hail Satan, whatever. And then the more I got into it, and into my ordination studies, it's really, and without a better word for it, religiously moving, right? Especially to be able to be proud of who I am and stand up for who I am, and love the people I want to love, be with the people I want to be with, and celebrate what I feel is right in the face of insurmountable odds, right? A lot of people don't realize the French Revolution, Lucifer was considered like a poster child for rebellion against tyranny. It's been used time and time again. It's just there was a difference of kind of we would call it proto-Satanism before having like self-identified, but there's just been satanic beliefs and practices that were considered taboo forever, right? And if people didn't stand up for it, we wouldn't have science today.
Facts.
The church was trying to shut down that the planets were round. Right? So if people didn't stand up and challenge for what they felt was right, there wouldn't be progress. And for me, in my beliefs, when I see just people who feel that they're lost and that they're alone, and that or their families kicked them out for who they were, and for them to be able to finally learn to love themselves again, despite what they were told when they were being raised, and be able to embrace what is considered blasphemous as a tool for self-empowerment and self-love is really moving.
So, quick question, because we've seen article after article about how people are leaving organized religion, Christianity, that type of thing, and going back to old practices, ancestor worship, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Has the Satanic Temple seen a rise in membership with people exiting Christianity and looking for something that fits them in their lifestyle, especially like your LGBTQ community, and where you've been shunned from the church,
100%. I would. This was a guesstimate, but guesstimate that I would say at least 60% of our membership is LGBTQ, like easily over half. And I've probably almost every member has some sort of religious upbringing. I wouldn't say all, but it's something you hear. Is most people are brought up Southern Baptist, especially here in Atlanta.
Yep.
In the
Bible Belt.
Right. Everyone has some form of struggles of being raised from Abrahamic religion, and to a lot of them, left the church or lost those beliefs, but they missed the community. They missed the being with like-minded people, doing good works and fellowship and ritual, right? And I was very much someone was like, I don't know about this ritual stuff. And now I design rituals, right? And write rituals. And it's such a big part of my life. And if you would have told me 5 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy.
All right, we need to take a quick break. You've been listening to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6 with Jon Eldritch. We will be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. I'm Amanda, and tonight we have Jon Eldritch with us Reverend Jon Eldritch with us from the Satanic Temple. So we've talked a little bit about the Satanic Temple itself, but there's also the Sober Faction.
Yes, Sober Faction, and the co-director of Sober Faction actually got started here locally in Atlanta. Okay. Now it's grown to be a whole international campaign.
Okay.
So the Sober Faction is, to summarize, is a peer support group that's for addiction recovery as an alternative to AA. A lot of people, everybody's kind of heard of Alcoholics Anonymous and AA and most of those groups, and don't really recognize how Christian rooted they are.
Oh, they are, yes.
And we recognize that a substance use disorder is a medically recognized issue. So one, we always open all our things saying we are not we are not licensed professionals. This is a peer support group. But we designed the 7 rituals, as we talked about, ritual practice, to go with the 7 tenets, and designed a whole community based off peer support with the alternative focus on self-compassion and love and empathy, and looking at yourself as your liberator instead of needing to, as step 3 would say in AA, turn your life and will over to the care of God. I'm like, if I went to any doctor for any medically recognized issue, and they told me, well, the cure for this is to turn your life and will over to the care of God, I'd go find a new doctor really quickly. I would go find a new doctor as quickly as I can.
As you should.
Yes.
I'm with you. Totally. Somebody did ask, and they said you didn't answer my question. How does one get involved?
Oh, how does one get involved? Oh,
yeah,
thank
that's
you.
a very important question. When
If it's local, the easiest way to start getting involved is you can follow us on our social media, join our Facebook group, the TST Atlanta Forum. You can join that Facebook group. You'll see what events we're having locally and come out and get to know us. And then we kind of have a membership process of just like, hey, come to a couple of events, get to know the community, get to know each other. And then there's like a little questionnaire survey just to make sure that, you're a right fit for the community. And then there's just like, welcome aboard.
Instagram?
Yeah, we're on Instagram. We're on Twitter, the TST Atlanta. I believe it's at TST or TST ATL. I can't remember.
I'll look it up. Somebody's asking, that's why.
Yeah. But the biggest thing, we're working on our new website and newsletter soon because we recognize not everyone wants to be on Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook.
Yes.
But it's everybody's welcome. People of all practice and beliefs, and some people want to be members. Some people just want to come to events and support, and those are also.
And that was my question. Do you have to be a member in order to?
Almost all of our events are public.
Okay.
Well, generally public. Like we'll have a Facebook event. Like we may not advertise everything. Then we have other things that are more members only for safety things. Like if we're doing a ritual or a black mass or something like that, we'll make it a little bit more intimate.
Private.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Can you tell us what the 7 principles of?
Yeah, the 7 rituals of the Satanic Temple Silver.
Is this you're going to tell us what some rituals are? Somebody just asked, can you share what some of your rituals are? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yep. So this will be our replacement to the 12 steps of AA here at Sober Faction.
And for that other question, the Instagram is TST Atlanta, no spaces, no dots. One word.
Thank you. So ritual 1, in our suffering, we had a moment of clarity. We realized we had lost ourselves and recognized addiction as our adversary. Right off the bat, that's way more empowering than step 1 of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is we admitted powerlessness, right? And I've always said you can kind of start to see some of the issues in 12 steps. And the first 2 words was we admitted. That's almost like wrongdoing and a moral issue. And why would you? No, I wouldn't admit to having polio, right? So we recognize addiction as our adversary. And the way we do these rituals, if you go to the satanictemple.com/pages/soberfaction, there's a whole PDF pamphlet.
Okay.
And the first part is you get yourself your recovery tome, which is essentially just a fun, spooky word of saying recovery journal. And then each of the rituals has a list of self-reflective questions, and then a non-theistic ritual followed by it. So ritual 1, the following ritual is there's a small destruction ritual for yourself, which it's one of the most favorite ones in the community. You just write down a word or a substance or a couple of feelings about something you wish to part with. You take that piece of paper, put it on a plate. Then you take a small black candle, put that on top of the piece of paper, light it, and meditate and watch the wax melt down over the piece of paper onto the plate. Take the plate, smash it, and that's your ritual. It's taking action to show that you're taking part of it.
I didn't hear any baby killing or goat eating.
No, break a plate.
But this is the number 1 ritual, right?
That's ritual 1 for the Sober Faction.
I'm with it.
Then ritual 2 is we decided our will and authority over ourselves would be reborn through adopting a new way of life, as opposed to recognizing we need a higher power to turn us to sanity, as opposed to other programs. Ritual 3 made a commitment to take responsibility for our own actions in the past, present, and future, focusing only on what we could control. While AA will tell you to turn your life and will over to the care of God as you understand Him, capitalized. We simply say take responsibility for your own actions. Right?
So that has been like a big buzz thing, the whole personal responsibility, where people get offended by you saying that they should take some personal responsibility for the things that have happened in their life.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they are the victim of the thing that happened, but what were the surrounding things that got you in that predicament? Did it just fall out of the sky? Okay, if the anvil fell out of the sky and hit you in the head, by all means. Mm-hmm. So what were the things that got you there? And so that has been a big thing especially with the younger generations, of the whole personal responsibility
Yeah.
and you saying that and people getting offended.
I very much believe we're not one shoe fits all for every situation.
Right.
Right. And that's another thing with Sober Factor. We're not anti-AA. Well, I have some personal issues with AA just because I had a lot of struggles and I was in AA for several years and had a lot of issues going through that.
And you were an atheist at the time, I'm assuming. So.
I was an
it could've
atheist
been
going
better.
into AA. And then
Right.
I was forcing myself to not be an atheist because I was told if I don't, I'm going to die. And I was so terrified. And
I remember those days.
Lord.
I was if you either find a higher power or you're doomed to relapse and die. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified of going back, getting out of rehab, trying to put my life back together. And I tried to the whole fake it till you make it, right? I was getting on my knees praying because I told I had to. And just trying, really trying for years. And
Now, in my opinion, that makes it even harder.
Yeah, and I convinced myself that I was like loosely agnostic, right? As far as like, there's something out there, I just can't explain it, right? And that was enough for a while. And then after a few years going to meetings, I was hearing everybody talk about their constant contacts with their higher powers and their spiritual awakenings and God speaking to them. And I started judging myself. I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not feeling what they're feeling? And I would try to talk to people in the meetings like, well, you're not trying hard enough. And if you're not doing it, you're going to fail.
Sure wasn't Catholic. Sounds a lot like Catholic.
Well,
It's AA. If you've
well,
ever been
AA will tell you that it's not a religious organization, but almost every single meeting ends with the Lord's Prayer and everyone holding hands. So, and again, why is this the most number one recommended thing for a medically recognized issue? Right? And and again, it's kind of like TST you may have heard about the Baphomet statue.
Yes.
We're not trying to put the Baphomet statue on a bunch of court steps. We only want to do it if there's a 10 Commandments statue there. We're about coexisting. Right? We're not trying to replace AA or get rid of AA. We're just saying there's alternatives, right? And if that doesn't work for you, this is what we found helpful for us, and you're welcome to come try it.
Thanks.
We cover mission statement. The Sober Faction is a peer support group that offers a satanic approach to recovery from addiction. The purpose of our meetings is to find a better way of living and help others who may be suffering. Our wish is to assure those who are suffering from addiction can find sobriety here without having to experience the undue burden of religious dogma and superstitions. And now we started with just one meeting a week about a year ago, and now we have about 12 meetings a week, all online right now. We have over 4,000 members, almost 4,000 members now in the community, and that's just on the Facebook group.
Nice.
Meetings are open to everybody. You can find the full meeting schedule on the TSC website. They're all on Zoom right now. And we are slowly starting to work on facilitator training so people from all over the globe can be trained to host their own in-person Sober Faction meetings for their local communities. And it's been the most incredible experience of my life. As I mentioned, I've been in recovery for a long time. It's over 11 years. And I've gained more from this community in the past year and a half than I have in all the other years of AA. Just because I can finally be myself. I can finally talk about practical, real issues and practical answers without being told to go pray on it, right? And that would be like, oh, well, if that's hard, just go pray on it. You'll figure it out, right? And that's, well, that works for a lot of people. That just wasn't enough. And we wanted to have an option where we can practice the fifth tenet, right? Belief should conform to the best scientific understanding of the world. And we're able to just talk about real life issues, and we share our experiences and find real life solutions and work on self-promotion instead of this shame list that AA is very much can feel, for me, in my experience, can feel very much like creating a shame list and then a confession. While in Sober Faction, it's very much learning to take your life back. We're learning your life is worth fighting for, and you are powerful enough to do it. Yes, you may need help, but it is your choice to get help. It's your actions to get help and to accept help and to act upon those things. That's your abilities. One of the struggles I had for a long time is anytime something was going really well in my life, I was being told it was because I was living in accordance to God's will. As soon as things were going poorly, it was my fault. So any good things were happening in my life was not due to my actions. And yes, I needed help.
So no semblance of control over what happens to you.
Exactly. And I needed, I wanted
You
help.
weren't even you. You're like a puppet.
Essentially.
Yeah, a religious puppet. Yeah, you're not doing this. You're doing this right. Oh, I got that.
And then we tried, years went by and joined TST. and I'm trying to run a new 12-step group locally. And what we want to do is just make it a secular 12-step group, remove the God language from everything. And even then, it was still just so much mental gymnastics for people who were new. Even removing that language, it was still so entrenched with the Christian values of shame and guilt. And in my experience, when I was first getting sober, I had no issues talking about how much I sucked. I was struggling with depression. I hated myself. I needed to learn how to love myself, not come clean about how terrible I am, right? And I had to, with Sober Faction, we're teaching them, no, there's a lot of great things about you, and you're worth fighting for, and you can continue to prove and focus on those good things and work on it and change. And it's just been absolutely phenomenal. We've seen people who've been trying to fight addiction for years in other programs and have never been able to do it. And now with Sober Faction, since our first meeting, have stayed sober.
And it almost sounds like another type of holistic approach to sober living.
100%. It's very holistic. One of my favorite things about Ritual 1 in the questions is the very first question when you start the rituals is, what do you want to change? It's not, are you an alcoholic? Are you an addict? Are you this? It can be taken with anything you want to change in your life. And you just focus on what you want to change, and then you work on everything in your life that feeds into. Very rarely with someone struggling with something just has one thing that's bugging them, right?
Sure.
Or one thing that they're struggling with. And for me, I felt substance use in my experience was very much the drinking and the using was very much a symptom of a lot of other issues, right? And to be able to work on building a life where I don't feel that I need to escape anymore, and feeling that I deserve to have a good life was a big part of that. And that's kind of what we promote at Sober Faction.
And I think having those rituals in there are a good thing, because when we talk about mental health and substance abuse, part of rehabilitation is creating new rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, whatever, music therapy, painting, whatever. It's always, I don't want to say a replacement, but something to be able to express yourself in some other manner that strengthens you at the same time.
I also believe it helps teach mindfulness. It helps teach focusing on the present, because I know for me that is not my default setting. Right? Like when I say meditation, when I say meditation and self-love and stuff like that as a practice, I mean I have to practice it. Right? Like I have to continue to practice, or it's not going to hold up. And meditation is a huge part of what we do at Sober Faction. It's part of our 5th ritual, and we have meditation meetings every Sunday now.
And for those who aren't familiar with the mindfulness practices are basically, we are living in the here and now. We're not focused on all the crap that happened in the past. It's done. We're done with that. And we're not like totally focused on the future. We are living what is happening right now. What are the things I can do better right now? What am I eating right now? You can break it down as small as you can to that, or you can live in that moment, but it takes away from the approach of, well, we're going to talk about all the things you did in the past and examine all these things and see what you did wrong, and see where we can make some changes for the future. Nope. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. This is how we can do better. And just focus on the present. Because if you're too far in the past, and you're too far in the present, you basically a zombie through your life. It's on autopilot at that point. So when you get home, you're like, oh, how the hell did I get here? Like, what route did I even drive? Because you weren't focused in the present.
I know for me, like if I'm if I'm feeling a lot of, or if I'm focusing a lot on the past, I'm only dealing with a lot of depression. Or if I'm feeling a lot of depression, I'm focusing a lot on the past. And if I'm dealing with a lot of fears and anxieties, I'm focusing really hard on the future. But if I'm trying to focus on gratitude, is normally when I start thinking about here and now. And it helps me learn to just stop and take a moment and appreciate all the little things in life. Because I could have 10 great things happen in a day. One bad thing happens, everything else is out the window.
Yep.
So I have to take those moments every day and just pause and try to reflect on things that I appreciate. And one of the practices for myself is turning into a Hail Thyself practice. Because I recognize my gratitude lists are always other people, places, or things, and never anything about me.
Okay.
So I try to add at least 3 things to my gratitude list that are about me, about something about myself that I'm proud of, something I'm happy that I'm doing. And if I can, try to make one of those physical as well, right? And when a friend recommended that to me, I cringed so hard. And I was like, if I'm cringing about trying to say nice things about myself, then there's something wrong.
Right.
I was like, especially as a Satanist, right? I'm
Right.
supposed to be saying hail thyself, but I can't say one nice thing about me.
And I think that is a very common thing, where people are so hard on themselves, and
I don't
Like-
think as many people admit it though.
tell a woman to stand in front of the mirror and appreciate her body, she will pick 20,000 things that are wrong and nothing that is right.
Yeah.
I have a friend we were at a wedding, and the picture that was taken to me was absolutely gorgeous. It was her living life and being happy, and she didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she really didn't like it, and she automatically started talking about what she needed to do to change. And I'm just like, but you're beautiful. I like the picture. Like,
Exactly.
so, but it's a common thing where even I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, well, I could change that. That could definitely be changed. And, oh, that wasn't like that 20 years ago. Of course it wasn't. But appreciating and being now, okay, this is what I'm working with now. Yeah, I'd like to change those things, but right now, this is how this is.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it, and we'll get there. We'll get somewhere else later.
Exactly.
So just doing that and focusing that. I know there's more questions that have rolled in.
I'm gonna
'cause
reword-
I can see
I've
how
been-
David's.
I've been trying to
over there.
reword this one, so I'm just going to be as good as I can.
Go for it.
There is a very heavy testosterone man in the room, and he wants to know, you mentioned LGBTQ.
Yeah.
He is a very heavy testosterone man. Is this a place for him to be at?
There's no issue with testosterone. Like, as long as you're accepting of other people, you're free to be yourself.
I would say, I see, like you said right there, I would say no off the rip because of the way he was asking.
I don't
Nowhere
want
in
to
there-
assume. I don't want to assume that though. Right? I don't
I'm
wanna
with you.
assume that,
You
right?
have a lot better tenets than I do.
I don't
So
assume
my
that.
tenets are not polished.
And
I see a guy here saying, well, I'm not gay. I don't want to be there.
I'm not gay either.
Okay.
So-
Well, I think that's what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gentlemen,
Stress that.
despite popular belief, straight men, just like every woman don't want you,
Thank
every
you.
gay man doesn't want you.
There is
every
nothing
bisexual man
sexual
don't
going
want
on
you.
about your religious beliefs.
Like,
No.
Yeah.
why won't straight men get over themselves? Everybody doesn't want you.
She
that
probably
is so-
knows who's in the room. That's why she's.
And I don't know who's in the room. I'm
You
just
might. You
I-
might.
being in that community. It
Yeah.
just annoys me
It
when
is.
straight males are like, well, I don't want to go there because I don't want somebody to. Okay,
That's
n-
exactly what was said.
Here's the thing.
Word for word.
Well,
here's the
Am
thing.
I going to get hit on?
Here's the thing. Maybe you do, but once you say no, they're gonna back off. Just like, but unlike most straight men, that when a woman says no, y'all don't back off. So we get followed to the parking lot, to our cars, and all that. Get your lives.
And really, if someone's being a good Satanist, they're going to remember tenet 3 and respect other people's bodily autonomy. So,
You're safer there than we are in whatever club you're going to.
And that's what I was
Just
going to
saying.
tell him. My answer would have been, if I was you, knowing what you know, I would have said, you're safer here than you are anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Because
well,
we actually follow these rules. And I heard in there was nothing in there about that.
Yeah. No, we're all about everyone being free to be the people they want to be.
Facts.
And for obvious reasons, it has attracted a large LGBTQ following, because most other religions, especially Christianity, will say that they're evil and they're going straight to hell just for being who they are. So it is no surprise that there's large LGBTQ following in TSA.
And a real
All right.
quick question.
You want to take a break real quick?
Yes,
and then get to
Rev-
questions?
it's a yes and no.
Okay.
Reverend, your place, can you marry inside of your
Yes.
community? Okay.
All right, so we're gonna take a really quick break. Keep the questions coming. We will take these last 10 minutes of the show to answer all of your things, because I know there was a lot of stuff in there that David's kind of like, oh boy. So you are listening to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. We'll be right Welcome back to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. I'm Amanda, and we're here with Reverend Jon Eldritch tonight from the Satanic Temple, the Atlanta chapter. And we've talked about what it is, what it isn't, the sober fraction. And so we're going to let David kind of filter in some of these questions. What I was about to say while we were on break, because I know Facebook can still hear us, even though the radio, those who are listening to us on the radio cannot hear us when we go to break, is that it amazes me how often straight cis men are concerned about their safety of not being hit on
That was the perfect laugh.
in the predicaments that they don't mind putting women in.
To think how hard it is
my
to be a
gears.
straight man.
Right.
Sorry,
Really?
complete
You're
sarcasm.
uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
I know, and just being honest through the radio, I've noticed the majority of the people that are trying hard to be straight, they're not straight. And this isn't what this show's about, but
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it just bugs me whenever a cis male
yeah.
comes out and says something like that. I'm like, oh, so you're uncomfortable. Tell me about it. Really? Imagine that. How does it feel? Like that gets,
You can contact Amanda by going to her email.
oh, Lord.
But yeah, the other question was, I asked about the marriage. They said, what is a marriage? What is a
That's
wedding like?
Up to each of the individual. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Satanism is it's very much an individualistic practice. There is no dogma. There is no like it has to be this way. So it's whatever you find empowering, whatever you feel good about. Now that we have ordained ministers within TST, people are like, well, what should I wear? And I'll tell other ministers, whatever makes you feel good, whatever makes you feel powerful, right? So we've seen now that we do have legally recognized ministers, TST this past year has been doing official satanic weddings. And anything you can imagine, like it can be very gothic and stuff like that. I've also seen it be extremely colorful, or just look like a normal wedding, right? So it's really up to the individual.
It's awesome.
And you
And recognized marriage?
Yeah.
So totally legal.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
and
yeah,
no matter what their religion is, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Thanks.
The Satanic Temple, if I didn't cover this, is a officially recognized religion by the U.S. government. It's a 501c3 religious organization. And this past year, we have started, there's full rollout of official ministers, legally recognized ministers to the Satanic Temple.
So now I got to ask a question because I'm thinking outside the box with a couple of things you said before. So 60% LGBTQ, okay?
That's just a rough estimate.
Rest, over 50%, okay?
Yeah, that's how I'd feel about
Do
it.
you feel like are you marrying same-sex marriages?
Yeah, why not?
I'm
Yeah, if it's legal,
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
Not why not?
No, yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'm
yeah.
totally with it.
Oh, yeah.
So do you feel like that might be because of the acceptance? That's why more's coming? Because they can't get married in any other religion I know of.
Yeah, possibly. People can get married outside of religion, though. So that's
True.
so religion is a requirement for
But
marriage.
with LGBTQ, it's all about acceptance, and I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Let us be accepted by a normal
Yeah.
religion or whatnot.
And so it's whoever wants to feel empowered by what we feel is.
Facts. I love it. I got nothing else.
Nothing else and nothing you want to
Nothing
say.
that he wants to talk about.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the majority of the rest of them are all sex oriented, and the man has not mentioned the word sex at all.
I'll
Ever.
answer any sex questions.
Yeah.
I'm not bashful.
Do you have sexual rituals?
Some may, but it's not like there's. I think that's another misconception. There's not like the rituals of the Satanic Temple. Right? If someone wanted to make a ritual where them and their consenting partner had sex in that ritual, all the power to them. But it's the idea of satanic orgies and all this other stuff. I've never found it.
Not that you might pass one up, but
No one's invited me.
There's question number 3.
like I'm not too good for this, but I guess never been invited.
Are y'all dancing naked under the moon?
If they want to.
See, I think
That's us, y'all. That's
Yeah.
the witches.
I
Okay.
I think a majority of these answers is that people don't understand. You guys accept everybody, and as long as you're empowering yourself, you're cool with everybody.
Exactly.
If you want it your way, as long as you're having it your way and not messing with us, you're accept-
Dancing around the
that
fire
right-
naked is very much an ancient practice, and a lot of TSC is inspired by older pagan religions, and those religions were considered evil and called devil worshippers, and people who were lived on the outside of the norm throughout history were called devil worshippers, and Satanists were finally like, well, if that's all evil, that all sounds great. Sign me up.
now, for the record, because I know this is a thing, like we all love the what was it? Adventures of Sabrina, whatever.
Oh yeah, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Yes, we all love it. Okay,
Fantastic show.
But right, awesome show. But no true basis.
No.
And
No.
And all witches are not Satanists.
Nope.
All Satanists are not witches, although I guess there are some.
There's very much satanic witches, but not all are witches.
So these questions, these sexual right questions, and that kind of thing, you're kind of skirting a line there.
Yeah, well, there's some overlap, but there's
right overlap, but not part of it.
Yeah.
But I think people automatically assume you're a witch, so that you're evil, and so now you must be a Satanist, which doesn't even follow. I do know some witches who worship Lucifer, not Satan, so to say, but Lucifer. And that's not the same.
Yep.
So I think that people just kind of get it confused. Like it all gets dropped into this big bucket
of the other.
Right. You're not this, therefore you must be doing all these things.
Exactly.
So.
Do you remember the game where you just said a word and you had to say the next word that came to your mind?
Yes.
That's a lot about what American society is about. Yeah. So I say the word, so let's just play, okay? Apple.
Orange.
Eve.
See? There's going to be one answer inside of group of three that's not the same, and it makes complete sense. Yours is a fruit. Eve ate the first apple, supposedly. We don't know.
Sin. Pomegranate.
The original sin. Pomegranate. All right, she's not playing fair.
You said pomegranate, I'd have said
C.
Yeah.
C.
Very fair.
Yes.
I will say, if anybody wants to learn more, there's a great documentary out that you can find on Amazon Prime and Hulu, I believe, called "Hail Satan?"
Okay.
It kind of gives a good overview of like the creation of the Satanic Temple, what actions they have taken, and what it looks like. There's also a fantastic book called "Speak of the Devil," which is a lot about the creation of TST and its actions and its philosophies.
So we were waiting. Wynn finally has showed up, and she probably has something smart to say. So I'm going to read what she says without even pre-reading it, because I know she's not going to say nothing stupid. So one of our regulars, Wynn, is here. From my understanding, Lucifer means light bringer. In some native tribes, the sun is known as the morning star, and Sundance ceremonies are held. Darkness in some tribes is not equal to evil, but simply means ignorance. You could reframe that as unawareness or unconsciousness. Bringing the light is becoming aware constantly, and I feel like it goes along with your tenets of do better. Bright light within self and then to community. What's your take on this?
100%.
Facts. I love Wynn.
Wynn's always on it.
Like, for example, we have our holidays now within the Satanic Temple.
That was another question.
Instead of Christmas, we celebrate Sol Invictus. Right?
Okay, say that again now.
Sol Invictus.
Sol Invictus, okay.
Which is about sun imagery.
They want to know Easter. It was Christmas, Easter, and Halloween.
So February we celebrate Lupercalia.
Okay.
For TSC is a celebration of self, sexual freedom, and liberation.
Facts.
Trying to remember, Hexanacht is the other one, which is honoring those who have fallen victim to superstition.
Oh, nice.
Such as St. Luke's Trials and countless people through the Satanic Panic of the 80s. And, honoring people who have fallen victim to superstition in general.
What about Easter?
I don't know if we have a Easter. It's not coming to my mind. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting.
It's all right. It's all right.
Not that I know of off the top of my head. Halloween's Halloween.
Okay, that's
the best holiday ever.
That was a 3-day wonder. Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. What do you do inside your religion for those 3 holidays?
And then July 25th is Unveiling Day, which is the day the Baphomet statue was unveiled on the court steps.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Sol Invictus, everyone, it's a celebration of freedom from superstition, community, getting together. At my house, my wife and I started a black spooky tree. We put it up on. We put it up at the end on Halloween. And we started decorating it with all sorts of ridiculous greatness.
You are so in her
black tree.
I have a black tree
that is covered in spiders all the way from October to Christmas.
Yes.
She's telling me that at Halloween. She goes, "I put my tree up today." What tree?
That's exactly what we do.
That's so cool. One more comment, then we got to wrap it up. It says, I watched the Hail Satan documentary a few times. In the movie, the Detroit chapter was shut down, and recently the Santa Cruz chapter was declared defunct. Will they be reinstated as a chapter sometime soon, possibly?
I believe so. If there's not already, I know, I'm not familiar with all chapters, but I know there might be another Friends of group is what they're called, before they're officially instated as a chapter. But I know that area has something. It may not be called Detroit, it may be like TSC, Michigan. But every now and then there's fallouts, but then people come together and work on rebuilding.
Facts.
All right, you guys. This has been fun. We have gone overtime, but we'll just have him back another
I
time to
own this
continue.
bitch. We're not overtime. Yeah,
Talking.
thanks.
They
It's a
keep
bonus
talking.
time.
All right. So real quick, how can they find you?
Just in general for the Satanic Temple, just the satanictemple.com. There's FAQs, all the information on there. For us locally and here in Atlanta, the easiest way is our Facebook group. There's the Facebook page, but the group is where we post like all of our events and stuff like that.
Okay, so you guys heard it. If you want to get in touch, learn more, all that good jazz, please reach out to them. Of course, you know where to find me. Things are getting really, really interesting. So I'll be here Sunday, of course, for our Valentine's Day version of Two Girls, One Crate.
Don't ask, bro. Don't ask.
Yes. King Crate sends us a box, and we open said box,
That's amazing.
not knowing what's in it, and then we fuck with David.
That sounds incredible.
I'm vanilla. So I don't know what even when the box is open, I really don't know anything in the box. I can guess, but they all know.
And a new venture on Monday nights now at 10 o'clock. You guys will be able to see me, Amethyst, after hours. And so what do I do when I'm not being a witch and I'm not doing all this crazy stuff, right? If you have ever been out with me, ever had dinner with me, ever had a drink with me, you know that it is really, really live and you don't want to miss those conversations. So tune in. Nothing to do necessarily with religions, so to say. It's any and every topic that you can think of that might come up, probably will come up. And if you have some ideas, send those in too. We will talk about them on Amethyst After Hours. All right, everyone. You have been listening to What Up Witches on BFAM 109.6. I will see you next week.
Thank you so much. That was so fun.
You are welcome.
Again, that is starting this Monday, 10 o'clock on S&M Mondays. That is Amanda with Amethyst After Hours. Brand new show here at BFAM 109.